Hey everyone, at the time of this episode's release, we're currently on a 1-month honeymoon, exploring Hong Kong, Fiji, and New Zealand. And while we're taking a short break from recording new episodes, we didn't want to go completely silent. So over the next few weeks, we're releasing a few special conversations we've had on other amazing podcasts with permission from the hosts. These are some of our favorite interviews where we go deep on our travel philosophy, our favorite redemptions, and how we use points and miles to create unforgettable experiences. Today's episode comes from our appearance in episode 22 on the Wonderland on Points podcast, hosted by Joe and Mary Ellen, who you might recognize from when they were on episode 20 of our show. In this conversation, we got to share how we first got into points and miles, how we met, my proposal in the Maldives, and how this whole crazy journey has shaped our travels and our life. If you're new to the show and haven't heard our origin story yet, this is the perfect reintroduction. And while we're out honeymooning, make sure to follow us on Instagram to catch all the behind-the-scenes moments, from lie-flat business class seats to luxury lounges and incredible places you might just want to add to your own travel list.
Ever pinch pennies all year for that one family vacation only to feel the budget blues afterwards? If so, I was just like you. After 3 vacationless years, I stumbled on credit card rewards travel and cracked the code to amazing vacations that I could actually afford.
Welcome to Wonderland on Points. In this podcast, you will discover how opening credit cards strategically can save you thousands on travel. We're not just dreamers anymore. We're 2 adventurous moms turning dreams into reality. Join us as we spill all the points and miles secrets.
And contrary to popular belief, you don't have to spend $1 million to earn 1,000,000 points. Traveling on credit card points isn't reserved for those with overflowing bank accounts. It's for everyday people like you and me, learning to turn routine expenses into free travel.
Consider us your points travel guides. This is Wonderland on Points. Let the adventure begin. Welcome back to Wonderland on Points. Today we are going to talk about luxury travel, which we are very excited about. I know we typically focus on budget and family travel, but today we have special guests on the show who are experts in luxury travel. So we're going to hear about that.
I really think that people are going to absolutely love our guest today. First of all, it's our first time having on 2 guests at the same time. So there were 4 of us. That was a new adventure, but they are a power couple. Okay. They are both living their best career lives, just traveling on points and miles to luxury vacations.
And they're going to tell us about a very special proposal that happened while on one of their luxury trips. Their names are DeAndre and Taryn. You're going to love them. And I'm telling you what, DeAndre has set the bar for proposals. We are blessed to hear about it, but man, has he set the bar.
So I think we should just get into the episode where you can hear about traveling to the Maldives and other luxury places on points and miles, and also hear a very cute and romantic story.
You guys, we have an exciting guest here. We actually have 2 guests on the podcast today. It is a dynamic duo. We have DeAndre and Taryn from another podcast, which is super exciting. This is our first time having guests who have their own Points and Miles podcast. So we know that all of you guys are going to love hearing from them and learning from them. Their podcast is called Revolutionizing Your Journey. And a little bit about DeAndre. He is a financial planner during the day, which I just think is fascinating. And I love when we can talk to people in the points and miles space who have a finance background, because I just think it brings so much, it really legitimizes this as I don't know, do we call it a hobby? I don't know what it is, but this points and miles thing that we do and that we love and that allows us to travel. So DeAndre and Taryn, thank you so much for joining us. Welcome. Tell our listeners a little bit about yourselves.
Well, thank you. Thanks for having us. I will.
Absolutely.
I guess I'll start. So yeah, my name is DeAndre Koch. Happy to be on the show today, and I am a financial advisor. So I own a financial planning firm, City Wealth Management, based in Virginia Beach, Virginia. The very short spiel is we work with clients all over the country on financial planning goals, retirement planning, investment strategies, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. All that fun stuff. All the things that people know they should be doing, likely maybe not be taking as much importance as they have been. So we work with clients around the country. And I have a passion for travel and also super analytical. So being the financial advisor and traveling at the same time has been a absolute blast for me.
Awesome.
Awesome.
Taryn, tell us about you.
Hi. I'm happy to be here. It's really nice to meet you guys. I'm actually a career management consultant. So
Ooh.
I do that remotely now, which is wonderful because I get to help people find their next path, whether it's a career change, whether it's retirement, whether it's the same job and just upskilling themselves. So I help them basically throughout the entire process, looking for the job, resume services, interview prep. It's really rewarding, and it's a wonderful way that I can incorporate doing something that I'm passionate about throughout our travels because I can do it from anywhere.
That's
So
amazing. That
yeah.
is
Love that.
incredible. You guys are literally a power couple. I love it. What a good combination of careers to have. It's amazing. I'm really curious about how you met, and I'm curious about who was the first person to venture into the points and miles space. Did we have a reluctant player too?
So Taryn should tell how we met, and then I'll answer the question on the points of mouse space.
All right,
Okay.
so we met in a pretty unorthodox way, I'd say, for
Love it.
this, for the 2020 years in general. We were set up by a matchmaker, like not an app, but like an actual matchmaker.
I
And
love it.
yeah, and I had been with the service, and I had actually my program had lapsed, but they kept women in the system in case you matched up with one of the guys. And it was a couple years later, and they called me and they're like, and she left me a message. She's like, this guy DeAndre, and said some things about him. And I was like, I believe her when she says that I would love this guy. Let me go. Let
Wow.
me just see. And yeah, ever since we've been together.
Oh
And
my
for the
gosh.
record, they set up a dinner for us to meet. They sent me a picture of her. She had no idea what I looked like. So
Yeah.
that's also,
I
random
think
thing.
you
I just happen to be so good looking that, it worked out.
I think you guys both came out on top in this circumstance. It was a very good match. And I love that story. I've always been fascinated by matchmakers, and I always watch the shows, the ones that like end up on Bravo or whatever. I love
Millionaire
all of them.
Matchmaker.
Oh, I
yeah.
watched all
Uh,
of Millionaire Matchmaker.
Same.
Okay. I am not ashamed. And that is really fun to hear real life people that it worked for. I absolutely love it. Okay, well, now it's your turn to tell us about how you guys got into points and miles, and take us through the journey about how you decided to start coaching people as well.
Yeah, so I'll jump out and say there really wasn't a reluctance. I think, Taryn and I, within 2 weeks of dating, we had already talked. I was telling her about the Amex Platinum and the benefits and those type of things, and she got it like the very next day.
Wow.
So there wasn't a reluctance at all. And then since then, we've talked more cards and strategies, and she's been. I mean, she's dove deep. I mean, she's the one that actually got into shopping portals and other things like way more than I ever did. So we can talk more about that. But to be really clear, although I have a longer history in it, like there really wasn't a reluctance. Like Taryn, she was like, "Oh yeah, this makes complete sense. I'm in," and that we were off to the races that way.
Awesome.
Yeah. So the start, though, really, I don't know if I would have been in this space, honestly, if I wasn't a financial advisor. And really, where the start came from was, so I've had my practice for, I think, 13 or 14 years at this point. And so probably 2014, 15 timeframe, as I was building my client base, adding more and more clients, I started getting questions, not just, what should I put into retirement and how's a Roth IRA work and do I need life insurance, but I started getting other questions like, hey, I like to travel. What type of credit card should I get? Right. Or I want to do this. What should I get? And so me being the analytical person I am, I started doing research, and I started probably going way deeper than most people would when it comes to what type of credit cards they should, that you should get for yourself. And that's when I realized, okay, there's cards out here that offer points. And that was really the surface level. But then I started going down the rabbit hole, as I tend to do at times, and then started learning about transfer partners and how that can really elevate the game. And so I started helping clients understand what cards make sense. And it
Mm.
wasn't really until I think it was really when the Chase Sapphire Reserve came out, which was 2016, that was the first really points and miles card that I got myself. And I got it when it had its opening welcome offer of 100,000 points, which they only have had since one time. And
Yes.
so, yeah, so it was great. And also it was really cool when when that card first came out, you actually would get points on travel purchases the first $300 you spent that was also still given back to you for free. So they did
Ooh,
away with
nice.
that. Yeah,
Mm.
so they were like, "Hey, we're not going to give you a free 300 and give you points on this $300." So they did away with
Right.
that since then. But that was really when I started getting into it a lot more, and I started like buying flights and using points, and I started going down the rabbit hole. So that was my delving into it. And it really came about just by helping clients understand what they could do. And I didn't take it to the same level that I have now, but that was really the start for me.
That is fascinating because I think most people go in reverse, especially those of us that like to teach people. I think most of us, it started as a personal journey, and then we realized like we couldn't shut up about it and maybe annoyed our friends and family a little bit, and then decided we were going to take it to the people who actually cared. And here we are. So I love the reverse of that story. That's not something we've heard before. And as Mary Ellen said at the top, we talk about all the time how this ties into so much more. It's so much more than just we're getting free travel. It is tied in with budgeting and financial literacy and financial independence and things that a lot of us were not raised learning, because there's a big hole in the financial literacy space, especially for young people. And so a lot of my education on all of this stuff has come because I got into travel hacking. And then I was like, well, how else can I maximize my life and my future? And so we love to see a person whose entire career is like, that's what I'm helping people do. And then on top of it, you're like, oh, and also, did you know you can travel for free? So I
Yeah,
love how that ties together.
that is exactly it. And we've actually had a few people on our show who, they've given us permission to say that they're clients, because I'm very confidential and private with who our clients are. But there are ones that we're also word of mouth based primarily. So the
Mm.
90% of our clients, we've grown just organic growth around the country. So my point of bringing that up was that conversations usually started where, as an advisor, I think part of our success has come from me wanting to understand what motivates people, their values, their goals. It's more than about what do you make or what do you have.
Mm.
And so I love hearing stories about, well, what's our objective? What's our long term look like? And then from there, usually the stories of, I want to travel more, I want to do this. Or the clients also know that we travel a lot, Taryn and I. So they're always asking, like, I'll have a client review and they're like, where have you been recently? And I was like, well, the last 3 months we've been to these 4 countries. Right. So, but and we have a lot of clients that value that, and so they're like, hey, we want to do what you do. And there's probably very few financial advisors specifically that will actually work these strategies with their clients.
Yeah.
And I incorporate it into our practice as well. I think the basic premise of, not getting into debt and a lot of things that we talk about, not paying a ton of interest, all of that's really universal. But an advisor that can really help a client see, hey, these are the cards that you can get in order to get this trip to Africa that's been on your bucket list for you and your family for years, that we don't have to liquidate your investment account. We don't have to take as big
Mm.
of a hit on your retirement portfolio. It's just a whole other way of thinking that I think puts us in a really unique place.
Absolutely.
DeAndre, I'm wondering if there's any mistakes that you've seen people make, financial mistakes, mistakes related to the points and miles world. Is there anything that our listeners need to be wary of or thinking about, so that any mistakes that we can help people avoid in the future?
Yeah, I mean, if we're talking points and miles specifically, as obviously a huge fan that Taryn and I are when it comes to points and miles and credit card points, right? We're very, very diligent, just like you guys are, in saying, hey, don't go into irreparable debt when you do this. And so I have had clients that we've worked with that may have had a very they're not in a great place from a debt standpoint. Could have great income, whatever it may be, but just not in a great place from a debt standpoint. And I've had clients that they're like, hey, well, we have these cards for points, but they're paying so much money in interest. I literally have to tell them, hey, we have to stop doing that for right now. So I've actually had clients where I've actually had them go back to using their debit card just to create the habit of good financial responsibility. And I
Mm,
say, hey, this isn't permanent. We can go back to using the cards, but I want us to be in a good space of understanding what our cash flow is, our burn rate, all those different things. And quite candidly, as a financial advisor, basically 1 in 5 financial advisors make it to year 5. And it's not easy to start as a career. It's very,
wow.
very difficult. And most don't make it for many reasons. And so as a starting financial advisor, I was also very broke early on in my career. So I also had a lot of debt. And part of the reason why it took me until about 20, I think 16 to get into the Sapphire Reserve. And I also got the Freedom Unlimited at the same exact time. So I could mix the 1.5 times with the, dining and everything else, was that I personally got completely away from using credit cards and only used debit cards to force myself into good financial habits myself as a financial advisor before I took the leap into what has grown kind of massively over the years. So I say that to say I'm not above, perfection or anything like that. Like, that was a mistake that I got myself into because I was also growing a business from scratch, but I have helped clients do as well.
That is very, very important. I have a similar story. I Dave Ramsey'd my way out of a lot of debt and then reached the end of that and then divested from that journey. But I had reached a point of like debit cards only forever and then started learning about this entire world. So I do think it's really, really important that people understand you're spending like cash, you're spending like it's debit. You're not spending like there is extra there. So that's really great that you have that story to really show people like this is what's possible for your future, but this is what we have to do right now.
For many, many reasons, most financial advisors, almost all financial advisors, are not a big fan of Dave Ramsey. Now, I will say his debt payoff
Yeah.
recommendations are very, very, very good. But a lot of the other things he teach, they're not a big fan of.
Yeah.
And what I found really funny as I got more in this community was I thought financial advisors, ironically, are the only community that weren't a big fan of Dave Ramsey and the Susie Ormans. But then I realized the entire Points and Miles community as well. So I found some solace and some brotherhood, some fellowship of in that world. So I just found that as funny since you mentioned the
Well,
name.
it's hilarious how many of our guests were like, I used Dave Ramsey to get out of debt and then, because a lot of his advice is very old school and, he doesn't want you to ever touch a credit card ever again. And he doesn't, I don't think, believe that people can learn and change. Like if you have a problem, you're always going to have a problem. And I think we are fully capable of learning and changing. So even if we didn't have great financial habits when we were young and got ourselves into holes that we then very diligently dug our way out of, there's no reason why that has to be a repeat occurrence. So, yeah, I'm grateful for what I learned from him in terms of debt. But yes, the Points and Miles community likes the choose FI guys a lot more than than Dave Ramsey.
Taryn, I want to chat with you for a minute and turn the conversation to a fabulous trip that I've seen you guys post about. And I know that our listeners want to hear about it as well. Tell us a little bit about the Maldives and maybe start with how you guys got there.
We actually ended up landing on that as the redemption for Hyatt is really good with points. And
Interesting.
DeAndre was like, oh, was it 35K, right? It was.
Yeah, I think it was 35K. Just saw that the Park Hyatt Maldives, which is an insanely
Yeah.
amazing hotel. I was like, oh, only 35,000 points. Which, when you're in the game, 35 you can get lower, but at the same time, you would expect the hotel like that to be like, Marriott, Hilton, 80,000, 100,000. So I just
Absolutely.
I kind of mentioned that. I was like, hey, Park Maldives. And then we
Yeah.
went. Yeah.
This was not a discussion about a trip. He was just like, Park Hyatt Maldives is $35K. What a good redemption. I was like, okay, so are we going? Like, and he's like,
Sign me up.
I was like, well, you're not just teasing me with these, like, it's a good deal. It's a good points redemption. Why? What are we waiting for?
Great question.
I posted a video, I think maybe, I don't know, August, something like summer, about that hotel specifically and just redeeming and transferring to get there. And we basically were like, well, why don't we just do this ourselves?
Mm-hmm.
And that's really what came of it. But yeah, Taryn and I literally was a conversation of I just randomly off the cuff was kind of scrolling and, oh, Park Hyatt Maldives, 35,000 points a night. Like, that'd be cool. And she was like, so when are we going? And that was all she wrote.
I feel
I
like
think-
this is how all my trips begin. I'm scrolling through the Hyatt app, and I'm like, ooh, I like this one.
Yeah, so it was like a backwards kind of thing. Although I think he's learned his lesson about teasing me with the good redemptions because if you're not willing to put your miles where your mouth is, what are we talking about?
Love that.
So we basically built the trip kind of backwards from there, and thought about what else we would want to do. We both love to scuba dive, and I had heard so many amazing things about Scuba Spa Maldives, as it would basically ruin liveaboards for me because it would be just so extra and amazing. And it was true. It really was. I mean, spa plus scuba, like on basically like a yacht.
Okay.
Wow.
Yes.
First class. Yeah. I mean, it's even if you don't like to scuba dive, like it's made for couples or families that don't necessarily have the same things that they like, and then you have both options, although I like both of those things, so I
Did you-
definitely wanted to check it out, and I did all of the things.
Good.
Yes.
That was my question.
Yes, I definitely did.
So
So that's kind of how that.
Did you guys use points and miles to get there then?
Yeah, we did. So our flight there and back was all in points. And then we stayed in 3 different places. So we had a adults only all inclusive, which was Adar and Prestige. That was paid in cash, and Taryn actually found that, and we found a really as one of the few adults only all inclusives there. It's so because Taryn and I were very much so we're living the dinkwad life, so dual income, no kids with a dog.
Amazing. That sounds like the dream. I know.
Sounds
We both
lovely.
kind of look off into the sky and wonder what that is like.
Hear about lives like this.
Yeah, so Taryn actually found that one. It was a great pick that she had, which we could talk more about that place. But that was one. And then Scuba Spa was a liveaboard, so that was a boat we were on, a very large boat, about 20 cabins though, so not like a cruise ship size, but 20 cabins. That's what we did diving for a week, and then we did what we actually came there for, which was the Park Hyatt, which was all points as well. So I know you asked what points that we used. So we flew, we did a positioning flight. So we paid cash to get down to Miami. And then Taryn actually has a sister that lived in Miami. And so we were able to kind of crash at her place because our flight out. So we got into Miami at 8 a.m., but our flight out didn't leave till 8:30 p.m. that night.
Wow, that worked out
Yeah.
well, though. That's perfect.
It did. So either way, we could have found like a day spa or whatever it may be for 12 hours. But we used, so Taryn and I are big with Americans. So Americans who we fly primarily. A lot of this was boosted by Taryn again, which we can get into, but using the shopping portals, AA portals, which I know you've had other guests talk about as well. So we use American miles to book a flight to Qatar on British Airways, where we had a layover in London. And I'll let Taryn talk about London because we actually had London on Christmas Day.
Whoa.
Oh.
Tell us. Okay, before you hear the rest of today's episode, we have a new Facebook group and we want to tell you all about it.
If you're like us and you love exploring new destinations without breaking the bank, you're going to want to join.
We've launched this exclusive Facebook group dedicated to sharing tips, tricks, and insider secrets on maximizing your travel experience using points and miles.
So whether you're a seasoned pro or just dipping your toes into the world of traveling on credit card rewards, this is the perfect community for you.
Plus, you'll have a chance to connect with our amazing listeners, ask each other questions, and learn from each other's experiences.
So if you're ready to take your travel game to the next level, join us in the Traveling on Points, Wonderland on Points podcast Facebook group.
You can find the link for the group in our show notes or just search it on Facebook. We cannot wait to see you there sharing your travel stories and picking up some new tricks along the way. Okay, let's get back to the episode.
That was just fun. I studied abroad when I was like 16 in London,
Oh.
and this was the first time I got to go back, like as an adult. Although they let me drink then, which was cool. Uh, and it was very much like a nerd fantasy of mine to go back on Christmas Day in London, and we were able to, thanks to DeAndre's skills, watch the Doctor Who Christmas special on Christmas in London.
Whoa.
Yes, I know. Huge nerd.
I can
Don't
tell
care.
that we would be friends. So I love
already
this.
could tell that too.
Yeah, it's a vibe.
Yeah, it was fun. And we got to go through Covent Gardens and look at the lights. A lot of things weren't open, so we definitely have to go back so DeAndre can get to actually spend some time in London, go to a proper pub,
Oh,
you know.
We kept
do all
trying to
the
go to
things.
pubs. All the pubs were closed. I was literally
All of
knocking
them
on
are
pub
closed.
doors. Just so I could say I've been to a pub, but yeah, all of them were closed.
No.
Always need a reason to go back.
Exactly.
Yeah. So the London experience. So one of the things with points and miles for your listeners to know is sometimes the flights aren't always perfect. They're not always as clean as if you paid cash.
Right.
So that layover was technically like a 22-hour layover. So we stayed overnight in a hotel, and that was on Christmas night. So we did pay cash for the hotel. We stayed at the Standard London, which we had gone to the Standard Miami. Again, Taryn had found those.
It's a vibe. It's a vibe.
Yes,
it
a vibe.
really is. It's
There's
really
actually a Standard Maldives as well. I don't think it's tied to any partnership or points or anything like that transfer, but it's a complete vibe. So we stayed there, and then we had a flight out early the next morning from London to Doha, Qatar. Wow. And so we had a whole other trip for 3 weeks in the Middle East, New Year's of the year before, and one of those weeks was in Qatar. So we had been to Qatar, we had seen Qatar, so we stayed at a Hyatt Regency right by the Qatar airport, nothing super fancy. And we actually paid cash because it was like $100 for the night. It was nothing crazy.
Yeah.
Versus 10,000 points. It just made more sense to pay cash.
Yeah.
And then we flew Qatar Airways the next morning from Qatar to Maldives. So it was an extended process. It took us about 3 days. It could have been faster if we paid in cash, but I have the numbers. We basically saved, so we actually saved about $8,000 by using points. With the points that we used, we actually got about a 9.3-cent redemption on just the flights getting there.
That is so good. And honestly, I have been so converted to American the last few episodes we've recorded. They were not on my radar because everyone says nobody transfers to them except for Bill, who no longer does, so it doesn't even matter. But everyone talks about it like they're just like, American. But in the research for the Japan trip I want to take in 2025, that was the business class flight that kept coming up over and over, 60,000 points nonstop to Japan over and over. And that sounds great to me. And it's on American. So I have really, I'm going hard now for the American points.
For the record, the flight, we did pay cash again to position to Miami, but the flight from Miami to Qatar, including the layover, was only 70,000 points. And then we flew economy actually from Qatar to Maldives, only a 4-hour flight, and that was 17,000 points.
Wow!
So, but the 70K was business class to Qatar.
That's amazing. Was it one of those super fancy business classes?
Business class. So Miami to London was British Airways, and that was one of the double-decker planes. So we actually were in the second level, but honestly, outside of the fact that there were stairs in the middle of the plane, it didn't really feel all that exceptional.
Okay. Right.
Yeah.
I still think it's fancy. I've always wanted to go on one of the double-decker planes. I think I would totally love that.
I loved it.
Yeah, for London to Qatar, that was Qatar Airways, but it was not their Q Suites brand.
Darn it.
Which we're actually going back to the Maldives this November. We made friends there, and we actually got a Q Suites flight, like the whole room together
guys.
bed thing that's that we actually got that for when we go back, and that was also only 70,000 points per ticket.
Stop right now. You guys have to come back after this and tell us everything. Seriously.
Happy to.
Absolutely.
That sounds
Now,
amazing.
I was scrolling a little bit on the Insta, and I saw that a pretty epic event happened while you were in the Maldives. Correct me if I'm wrong. That's what I pieced together from Instagram. And that was like, I mean, we're talking the Bachelor / movie level epic event happened.
Drone
Taryn?
photography, all of it. Tell us
Yeah.
what happened.
It was kind of great. He told me we were doing a anniversary brunch, especially because we hadn't really done much the year before. And he's like, "Oh, we're gonna do something. You know, I got this brunch plan."
Taryn's saying this much nicer. So we were in Dubai for the year before for New Year's that year, which we did New Year's in front of the Burj Khalifa the year before, which was insane. But I didn't really do as much as I should have for our 1 year anniversary. So I basically used our 2 year anniversary as like, hey, this is redemption for our 1 year anniversary. So be very close. So Taryn said that very gracefully, very nicely, but I will fully admit I did not live up to a good enough 1 year anniversary.
Oh, I was mostly just going to give you crap off the air, but if you're
I
going to
love
out
it when
yourself
you
like
can
that.
own it for the people. That's a good sign. Green flags all around.
Yeah. So I mean, I guess that kind of made it unsuspecting because I'm like, well, he does have something to make up for, so I guess I'll see what this brunch is about. Although daytime date, I mean, all right, I do like brunch. And I didn't know what we were doing, where we were going. He didn't tell me. Even like when we were about to go, I didn't know where we were going. I knew we were going to be on a boat, and I knew we were going on a excursion, and that was kind of it.
And keep in mind, everything in the Maldives, all the resorts are islands, right? Each island basically has its own resort. So like you can't really, when you leave, you're literally leaving either by boat or seaplane to go somewhere else because you can't really leave the resort property unless you just want to swim for miles. So
But boats are like taxis there. Like
Exactly.
they've got these small little speedboats and everything, transport boats. Like when you get out of the airport in the Maldives, there's a whole dock of boats to take you to your resort. It's the coolest thing. It's like the taxi line in New York, but it's like boat taxis. Yeah.
I love it.
It's really cool. But we were on this really fancy boat, and I thought it would be an excursion. I thought there'd be like other people, and I'm like, oh wait, it's just us. I was like, oh, okay, like somebody pulled some strings. How fancy, you know? And it was gorgeous. And I was like, well, where are we going? He's like, oh, I don't know. And at some point, I was like, does he not know, or is he just trying to surprise me? And I actually wasn't sure until I looked on Google, and I was like, oh, it looks like there's like a pin of something on Google Maps up there, and he's like, don't look at it. And I was like, okay, all right, all right, fine. You said you didn't know. I was just trying to help. So we are pulling up to this like very tiny like sandbank. Like I mean it looks like a very tiny island, but it's not even close to being large enough to be an island. And you could see some shadows of people standing out there, and I was like, oh, okay, there's the other people on the excursion. You know, you never get a private excursion. And once we had to take another boat from that boat to get to the sandbank because of just the waves and things. And I was like, I really am not sure exactly. This seems a little extra, but I'm here for it.
Amazing.
And then I saw a photographer, also two photographers, one with a drone, one with a real camera. And then I noticed some like markings in a path in the sand. And then I kind of was like, oh, wow, like this is happening.
So you knew at that point, you knew you weren't just having like a romantic anniversary photo shoot.
I mean, only because he's not one to outsource his photos. He's a great photographer. He has his own drone. And, you know, like, why would there be a drone photographer unless he needed to be in the photos? So, you know, I added that up a little, you know, pretty quickly. And then I was like, all right, let's go. Let's do this. But it was really beautiful. It was magical. And a Darren Prestige Vadu, the location, I know they worked so like closely with DeAndre on this, like planning it. And I mean, it looked like we were in the middle of literally nowhere
I
with
mean,
nothing nearby. It was insane. The water was so blue and so gorgeous.
the videos are
Yeah.
wild.
Yes, for the listeners, if you visit our Instagram, you can actually we have the video of it put on the pin to our profile, so you can actually see. But it was interesting to plan it. I started planning a month out before, and basically because of the time difference, I would talk with the general manager there. Basically, I get up for the gym at like 5:30 in the morning, and I'd have a missed phone call from him.
Oh
So on
my
my way
gosh.
into the gym at like 5:45, I'm calling him and we're trying to talk through this plan of what's going to happen, and then through email and multiple teams. And I had to make sure that, so one of the unique things is, so Taryn booked this resort, and so I had to do all the planning without her knowing. And I also
Right.
didn't want, when we checked in, for them to be like, "Oh, we also have this thing booked for you as well."
I have your
So
proposal all lined up for Wednesday.
yeah, this wasn't even like the sandbank that we went to was like an excursion, like a sandbank picnic, but they didn't have like a proposal package. So I literally was like, "Send me everything you had," and I kind of curated it with the different things they had
Yeah.
to make it work. And um it ended up being great. The fun part of it was the fact that it was so insane because there was no tree cover or buildings or anything. It's just complete sand, and the wind that day was insane. So
Yeah.
they had a nice picnic made for us with like burgers and non-alcoholic champagne, because it is technically a Muslim country, and you can't drink off the resort.
Mm.
Um, and so the sand was whipping us so hard. Taryn was happy. She was just in heaven.
I ate my sandy cheeseburger and with a smile. I was just like, I did not care.
I
Yeah, I was
love
like, "I'm so
you.
sorry. Like, I can't. I'm sorry. Like, I'm getting whipped in the face with sand. All these different things." She's just like happy. She's like, "Oh, this is great." But it was a really cool experience. But you can kind of get the magnitude of where it was and such from that video.
We got lucky the
Absolutely.
weather cooperated with us because it was really bad before and it started to get bad after. But
Wow.
like it's like the heavens opened up just for that moment of time. So like I was like, yeah, I was like, I'm
Meant
happy. Who
to be.
cares?
You got the
Like this
universe
was
stamp of approval on your future right there.
exactly.
I'm very moved by a proposal, and that was very sweet. And I'm never going to let my fiance listen to this episode because I don't want him.
So
Like, who can really? Not very many people have proposal stories like that. That is next level, very epic.
one of my really close friends who just got engaged probably 3 or 4 months before me, and they're getting married this year. They got engaged in Italy, so he proposed in Italy. Beautiful backdrop, all those different things. He
Gorgeous.
commented on my video. He was like, "I'm so glad you waited until after I proposed to set the bar so high." So
So true.
I found that pretty funny. That was one of my favorite comments.
I
Yeah.
mean, it's
Well,
So
very
speaking
accurate.
of
Mhm.
weddings and brides to be, we have our own bride to be here, Joanna, and she has been thinking of
Congrats.
honeymooning in every destination
All
around the
over.
globe that we talk
I
about.
can't pick.
All around. But the one that she's honed in on is somewhere that you guys know very well, and that is Tulum, Mexico. And this is amazing. You're going to want to go over to their Insta page after this because you guys are giving away a 4-night stay at an Airbnb in Tulum. What?
We are. Yeah, so we've partnered with Greenwood Tulum, which is a property management company down there, and they manage a bunch of different properties down in Tulum. And so, just for essentially following us, following Greenwood, and signing up for our newsletter, you get entered for a 4-night stay. And because, of course, we want to promote our podcast and grow, which you guys are doing exceptionally well with your podcast. Love your content, and we actually started around the same time, so like it's really cool watching both of our shows grow. And so for us, if you follow our podcast, leave us a rating and a review. which honestly was an idea from you guys, which I love the collaboration.
Yes.
I think that was a great idea that you guys had tossed out to us to help us continue to grow, which is why I love this type of community. By doing those things, you can be entered to win. So 4 nights in general, just by following and the 2 accounts in the newsletter, you can win 5 nights instead if you follow and like and rate our podcast.
Love it.
Yeah.
That's amazing. And I think you should tell everybody a little bit about Tulum as a place, because I don't know that people are super familiar. I have to be very frank and say that I didn't know anything about it until I saw it as a location on The Bachelor. And then I was like, what is this place that they are in? And I went and like rabbit holed myself into oblivion. And I was like, that's where I have to go. But I don't know that I think it's up and coming as a talked about place, but it's not one that people are super familiar with. And I know you guys are very experienced with Tulum. So maybe give everybody a taste of why they want to go there, what it has to offer.
I'm going to let Taryn answer that first and just give her perspective.
I was going to ask to answer first. Thank
Yeah.
you. One of the things I love about Tulum is that they embrace like keeping things natural, maintaining that like tree line, and it has a jungle feel. It has a very natural, like organic way, but it's also very cool, very trendy, and it's very safe. Like you look around and it's like a lot of women walking dogs. Which is not what I expected to see in Mexico. But as you know, as women, it's a good indicator that you're in a good place. When you see just lots of single women walking dogs. And it's just, I really like that they embrace the natural, aspects of the location and are trying to maintain that through, protection and reserving it and not building it up, kind of making it like another Cancun. So it's absolutely nothing like other parts of Mexico that you're probably imagining.
That's amazing.
Yeah, it's a gorgeous area. The way the architects build buildings there are like things you've probably never seen. I mean, because they build with the jungle in mind, like Taryn said. Only very few buildings have the rights to actually breach the tree line. So if you're in a condo or a building, which again, there's only a few that are above the tree line, even but far back from like the beach, you can actually see nothing but trees as you look forward. And on the entire beachfront, unlike the Cancun look, which is basically almost like Miami, where it's just sky, high rise after high rise, there's almost no buildings you can actually see that over the trees on the beach itself. So Tulum's a very green, very rustic, very bohemian feel. And to kind of give you an idea of how much, one of I don't know the exact name of it, but there's a almost world famous yoga school there.
Whoa.
So a lot of mostly female, but they're, yogis in general go from around the world, especially this western half of the world, go there to that school. Of course, if you're on the eastern side, you're going to go to Bali.
Right.
And then also they're building the 4th green school in the world. So there's one in South Africa, Bali, New Zealand, and the 4th one's going to be in Tulum.
Wow.
And that's going to be literally, so the green school, I don't know too much about it because again, I don't have kids, but basically it's a school that you can send your kids to, and kids from all over the world can go to this school, kind of K through 12, but maybe not that young, but something through 12. And they literally are like farming the land. They're creating projects. I saw the school that was in, I think Bali. They actually created an entire biodiesel program for the buses there through that school. So, and the school's like made of bamboo. So it's a really cool experience. And there's only 3 right now in the world, and the 4th is going to be in Tulum.
That is,
and the
so
airport
cool.
is open.
I just heard that. I was like, wow, I was planning to fly into Cancun and drive. So this is very exciting. Although I wasn't finding any flights from here. I always knew I would have to position anyways. It's fine. But I can fly from here to Cancun super easily. But
What airlines are at the new airport? Do you guys know?
Yeah, so it's Delta, it's American, it's United, and American just because that connects from Miami and Charlotte. I think Dallas is coming, and then Delta connects through Atlanta, and that's all. I don't know exactly which one United connects through. But
Okay.
yeah, it's an hour and a half drive from Cancun. We've done the drive many times. Rental cars are pretty inexpensive there. It's one of the most boring, well, I think at this point, boring drives because it's literally one highway. So you turn right off of the airport and you just drive an hour and a half straight. Then you turn left and you're in Tulum.
Is it
No,
pretty?
like it's
Wow.
no.
You're on the
You're on.
highway.
Okay.
I thought it would be more visual as well, and I was a little like, oh, but at least like the roads are nice. Although there is all those speed bumps because that is their way of maintaining the traffic. So that is
Ooh.
sort of a bit of a bummer
Yeah,
on
there's
those
like
Wow.
speed
highways.
bumps on the highway, which is a little annoying. But yeah, it's just you're driving past stores and shopping malls along the way, and then a lot of trees. It's not really like an ocean view type drive.
Okay. Well, I'm sold on flying in then. I thought if it was a
Yep.
scenic drive, maybe it might be nice, but
Yeah, I thought that too, but you won't be missing anything. I wish that was how we could have done it too. So I'm excited to fly into the Tulum airport for the first time.
so
Yeah,
exciting. Have you
and from a budget standpoint as well, there's the ADO bus. So literally the letters ADO, where a bus ride from Cancun to Tulum, I think, is somewhere in the realm of like $30 per person, maybe less.
Wow.
There might be a couple stops along the way. It might take you 2 to 2.5 hours, but it's not bad at all if you don't want to deal with renting a car and doing the drive.
Sure. That's great tip. Have you stayed at the Hyatts there? I know there's a Dreams and a Secrets. I'm trying to think if there was a third, but those are the ones that I keep looking at as options.
So Taryn and I stayed at Secrets Impressions Moshe,
Mm,
which is
mm,
not in Tulum. It's in Playa del Carmen, so halfway to Cancun.
mm.
The best hotel resort I've ever stayed at
I have heard that.
anywhere.
I've
Really?
heard that repeatedly.
I have personally, I have not. I don't think Taryn has either ever stayed in any Secrets hotel in the Tulum area or Hyatt hotel in the Tulum area specifically. Have stayed at multiple Secrets hotels all throughout the Riviera, that Cancun to Tulum strip,
Mhm.
but not stayed at one in Tulum specific.
I
Okay.
was gonna say, isn't that the one that's right next door though?
Yeah, so next door to one of the condos that we've been to, that we go to a lot, there's a Secrets that open right across the street.
I think that's the one. I'm pretty sure
Yep.
that's the one that I'm targeting. And it was part of the Hyatt devaluation. And I had a stockpile of points, not enough for all of the days that I wanted, but I was still going really back and forth with myself. And I almost jumped on it before the devaluation happened and booked a couple days. But I wasn't sure that they were actually days we'd be able to use because of my fiance's job. And so I didn't do it, but it went up a whole bunch. Like I was seeing days in the I want to say 21 to 25,000 range at this all inclusive, and now they are up above 30. It was really sad. I should have just done it, but I'm so indecisive and my list is so long and it really took me a long time to narrow it down. So, but you guys have sold me. And have you been to the ruins? Because I'm very fascinated with the ruins.
I have, yes. The
We went
ruins.
together when we did the mangrove thing. We saw the ruins that were south of Tulum.
Okay, yes, you're right. So the ruins in Tulum that you see on all the pictures, that's which are the ones that are also it's typically gets crowded there.
Mm.
Yes, seen that. Taryn and I have been to one in an area called Muyil, which is a really cool area, cool lagoon. It's more south of Tulum, and those have much smaller ruins, kind of smaller pyramid structures, but they have these really cool canals, which I'm going to have Taryn explain because that was what we did there was insane.
It's basically like mangroves, and it has been there for like ever,
Wow.
essentially. Like they built this,
Canals dug by like 500 years ago.
Oh my gosh.
yeah, and they are still like maintaining it. And once you put the boat like on the path, like just going in, the water just takes you through like a maze. And then, so we did that on the boat, but then we got to a point where we jumped in and they had us put our life vests on like diapers, which I'd never seen before. And I grew up on boats, and honestly, it's genius. I mean, you put it on upside down, you like sit in it, and then you float. And it was like a natural lazy river. And the water was crystal clear and it brought you like on its own natural pace through these beautiful mangroves, and we just like relaxed and just floated, and it was very unique and very different than anything I'd ever done on an excursion.
Okay, well, I have to do that. So I'm gonna need all the details, please. Was it expensive?
So no, it wasn't at all. We actually made. I've got a buddy down in Tulum. His name's Chino. When I went with a group of friends years ago, he was kind of randomly our tour guide, and then we were like, "Hey, you're a really cool guy. Like, can we just pay you essentially in the future when we come down here, like ourselves?" And he ended up starting his own company, and
Wow.
so he now has his own Eco Tours Mexico. And so he does very kind of off the beaten path tours of different cenotes and places. So I don't exactly remember the cost. It may have been 60, $70 per person,
Amazing.
maybe. But also on our way, as he's driving the van with us in it, uh, one of our friends is just like, we want tacos. And so he pulls over and we pull over to this hole in the wall taco stand off the side of the highway, have the best tacos of our life. And then we go to this place. On the way back, we're like, we want more tacos. He pulls up to a different taco stand on the way back, had more tacos. Then he went and stopped at a coconut stand and chopped up coconuts, and it was a really cool experience that's you're not going to get with a typical resort
Yes.
provided company, right? So that's why I like going to like the source and just that's why it's all about having a whole different travel experience versus just booking through the resort. You have the typical person who doesn't really care that much picking you up in their van, right? And going like, no, this is someone who really cares about his area. And even as we were hiking through the mangroves, he was pulling cans and trash out. He had a wore glove just so we could keep the mangroves clean as we were hiking through it. So it
Oh,
was really cool.
that
Yeah, the
is
eco
amazing.
conscious is like the best part, like that it's all about like having something that's green, something that promotes like the local environment, the people, and it's, something that's doing better
Yeah.
for and like ecotourism that's why it's so important to have some sort of green and like preserving kind of excursions that are definitely different, but I
Yeah.
think that it just, it makes a big difference and it's a different way to travel.
I love that. We're gonna link that company in the show notes because I am fascinated, and I'm sure everybody's gonna go enter your Tulum giveaway. So they all need to know where to go once someone wins, and I am jealous.
I think Taryn, you should tell them about TripIt too, because Taryn's who told me about TripIt, which from an organization standpoint, uh,
Mhm.
this doesn't really fall into points and miles, but it's great for travel organization. And
Ooh.
Taryn told me about it, and we're huge fans, and it's now a factor of every trip we ever book now going forward. So I
Yes.
think, but Taryn, I'll let you take the honors because you're the one that got me into it.
Yeah, I encountered TripIt first in my previous corporate job in sales, and it was something that they offered us for because it was traveling quite a bit for my job. So when you book something, basically it creates an itinerary for you automatically with your hotel, with your flights, and it gives you like live updates as well. So all of your stuff goes into like things that I used to spend time literally creating an agenda for when it was work because I'd have somebody in town. Like I'd literally be creating this agenda, and now at least I could cheat off of the TripIt app where
Wow.
it would basically lay everything out. And the cool thing is when we're traveling, it gives you these updates, and a lot of times it will know if there's a delay before your flight app from the same airline partner.
Whoa.
It will give you I've even had it give me a heads up that my flight dropped in price by $50, and it was like, you should call them. I called them, I got a $50 credit. um and I would not have known if, and that was one time. So I mean, I think the paid version is even worth it because that's one situation in the whole year that I saved money, and that's not the only time that it saved me time and effort. So and we can share our agendas as well. So even if like one of us books flights, one of us does the hotel, it all goes into one place. We can both view, we can both edit, and we both get live updates.
Wow. Game changer.
Yeah, yeah,
And they
I
do.
am loving the sound of that.
Yeah,
yeah.
they
It's
have
a
a
great app.
tracking thing in there too. We don't really use that as much, but they do have a points tracker for your airline rewards as well as hotel rewards if you wanted to have that. But it's one of those where it needs to log into everything in order to keep tracking it.
Oh, yeah.
It's kind of a hassle.
Okay.
Yes.
And so that is TripIt. TripIt?
Yeah, so
TripIt.
yep, so just
Okay.
TripIt. And so
TripIt.
where it really helps out is because of these a lot of these longer trips like a Maldives or a Bali, like again, we'll book our flights and then we'll figure out hotels. And so we can actually see in our itinerary on our phones, you also can do it online, but we use our phones where we can scroll where we can exactly see, okay, so we've got a flight from Norfolk to Miami. Norfolk's where we live. That's our airport. So we position to Miami, then Miami to London. Oh, we need to book this overnight in London. Then London to Doha. We need to book an overnight in Doha. Now we're in the Maldives. Then we had to stay in the Adaran Prestige. And then we had that scuba spa. Then we had the Park Hyatt, right? So we could see the full itinerary.
Wow.
And all you have to do is when you get your confirmation emailed to you, usually it automatically pulls in. But if it doesn't, you just forward it to plans@tripit.com and it imports it into your itinerary.
Oh my
And then if you
gosh.
share it with your travel partner, then they can see it, they can edit. And so it's really easy to see what like whether there's gaps and like what needs to be filled. And you can do all that for free. The paid for version, which is $50 for the year, is what gets you the updates of, flights getting cheaper, or it tells you things like the distance to walk to your next gate when you land at an airport.
Wow.
Yeah, it gives you the updates of where your baggage claim is. So it tells you a lot more information, but the free version is still very, very good.
I mean, I'm going to be
Yeah.
off spreadsheets forever because that sounds
I was just gonna say, my husband is such a spreadsheet guy. We have trips and he has every minute basically outlined on the spreadsheet. So I think this sounds like the perfect app for him. It's gonna save him a lot of time and still give him all of that super, super nerd organization that he wants.
It's nice to take the time zone math out of the equation.
Oh
So you
my
just put it in there
gosh.
and it keeps track of exactly how long that layover is. Maybe it's, daylight savings. Oh, well, I was off by an hour. Now we know. So it's really nice that it does all that work for you once you put it all in there. So you see exactly how much time you have. So
I didn't
definitely
think of
huge
that.
fan.
That's going in the show notes too, you guys. Oh my goodness. Wild.
Well, DeAndre and Taryn, thank you so much for coming on the show, for sharing about your luxury travel. You guys, if anyone wants to go and listen to more, their podcast just talks all about luxury travel and how to make it happen on points and miles, which of course we all love here. And where can they find you on Instagram?
Yeah, so Instagram is just boldlygo.world. Facebook is the same thing, boldlygo.world. And yeah, the podcast Revolutionizing Your Journey, and it's on all the things, YouTube, Spotify, Apple, all the things.
All the things. Love that. And then one last thing before we go, and I know we're kind of springing this on you guys, but we like to ask everybody for a creator in this space that they want to shout out that our followers should also go follow. So is there anybody that you follow that you just think is super amazing, you've learned a lot from, and you think everyone else should go check them out too? And it could also be a podcast, I guess. We usually have people shout out Instagram accounts, but I like the idea of someone shouting out a podcast too.
Yeah, they're called Wonderland on Points. Great
Stop.
podcast. You guys have a great podcast, great show. Love you guys.
Thank you.
The other one that I would shout out, their podcast is and their following is pretty big, so you might have heard of them. But it's the Travel Mom Squad.
Oh yeah.
I've loved their content. I love the way they go about talking through everything in general, but that would be a great account. On the smaller account side, had a guest on my show, Travel Points Rob, really great guy. He talks about travel and how he got him and his 5 kids in business class to Europe.
Wow.
So him and his wife, so all 7 of them. So really, really cool guy as well. Happy to shout him out.
That is amazing. We will link everybody up in the show notes. And again, you guys, we are so happy that you came out and talked to us today. This was such a fun episode. And thank you both for being here.
Thank you for having us. This was so fun. It was great getting to talk to you girls.
It was so good.
This was great. Thank you so much for having us as well.
Absolutely.
Bye, guys.